Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. Imagine you're standing in the pre-dawn silence of your bedroom, the weight of another day's responsibilities pressing against your chest before you've even fully awakened. Your mind immediately begins its familiar spiral through the tasks ahead, the unfinished conversations from yesterday, the persistent worry about things beyond your control. In this moment, a question emerges with startling clarity. What if the very thoughts racing through your mind right now are the raw material for building an unshakable inner life? Nearly 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor faced remarkably similar moments. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the most powerful empire the world had ever known, sat in his tent on distant battlefields and in quiet palace chambers, wrestling with the same fundamental human struggles that visit you each morning. His private journal, never intended for publication, became one of history's most profound guides to living with wisdom and grace. The Meditations offer something extraordinary, a window into the inner workings of a mind learning to find peace not by changing the world around it, but by understanding its proper relationship to that world. How might our own restless nights and overwhelming days be transformed if we approached them as Marcus did, seeing them not as problems to be solved, but as opportunities to practice the art of living? The heart of Marcus's approach lies in a deceptively simple recognition. There exists a fundamental division between what is within your control and what lies forever beyond it. This insight forms the bedrock of his philosophy, yet its implications ripple through every aspect of human experience. When you observe your thoughts without judgment, you begin to notice how much mental energy flows toward outcomes you cannot influence, people you cannot change, and circumstances that unfold according to their own logic. Marcus understood that your judgments about events, rather than the events themselves, create your suffering. When you label a traffic jam as catastrophic or a colleague's comment as personally devastating, you're not describing objective reality, but revealing the lens through which you interpret experience. This recognition doesn't diminish real challenges or ask you to pretend difficulties don't exist. Instead, it invites you to examine whether your interpretation of events serves your well-being or compounds your distress. The Emperor's Meditations reveal another profound insight: the practice of negative visualization as a path to gratitude rather than pessimism. Marcus regularly contemplated the temporary nature of everything he cherished, not to become morbid, but to fully appreciate what exists in this moment. When you consider that your loved ones, your health, even your capacity to read these words are gifts that will not last forever, something shifts in your perception. The ordinary becomes precious, the frustrating becomes manageable, the overwhelming becomes temporary. This contemplation of impermanence extends to your own existence in ways that are strangely comforting. Marcus frequently reminded himself that he was part of something vastly larger than individual concerns. You, too, participate in an unbroken chain of human experience, stretching back countless generations and forward into an unknowable future. Your worries, while real and deserving of attention, exist within this broader context. The presentation you're nervous about, the relationship challenge you're facing, the career decision weighing on your mind are all part of the same human drama that has played out in countless variations throughout time. In his tent on the Germanic frontier, Marcus developed what might be called a practice of philosophical perspective-taking. He would imagine viewing his current challenges from increasingly distant vantage points, first from across the battlefield, then from above the entire region, then from the perspective of decades in the future. This exercise didn't minimize his responsibilities as emperor, but helped him maintain equilibrium amid chaos. You can apply this same technique to your modern challenges. The argument with your partner feels different when viewed from next year's perspective. The professional setback carries less weight when considered alongside the entirety of your life's journey. Perhaps most remarkably, Marcus understood that virtue, the cultivation of wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, was both the means and the end of a good life. Unlike external achievements that depend on factors beyond your control, virtue remains always within your power to practice. You can choose wisdom in your response to uncertainty. You You can exercise courage when facing difficult conversations. You can pursue justice in your treatment of others, even when they don't reciprocate. You can develop self-discipline in small daily choices, building the strength to handle larger challenges. This focus on virtue over outcome creates a profound shift in how you measure success. Instead of asking whether you achieved the result you wanted, you begin asking whether you responded with integrity, thoughtfulness, and courage. This isn't about lowering standards or accepting mediocrity. It's about locating your sense of accomplishment in the only place it can remain stable, in your own choices and character, rather than in the unpredictable responses of the world. The modern relevance of Marcus's insights becomes especially clear when you consider how contemporary life amplifies the ancient human tendency to seek control over uncontrollable things. Social media feeds you constant updates about global events you cannot influence. News cycles demand emotional responses to situations you cannot affect. Professional success often depends on variables beyond your expertise or effort. In this environment, the Stoic practice of focusing on your sphere of control becomes not just wise but necessary for mental health. How might your relationship with uncertainty change if you viewed it as Marcus did? Not as a problem to be solved, but as the natural condition of existence to be navigated with grace. When you accept uncertainty as the default rather than treating it as an aberration, you can develop what the Stoics called an attitude of willing participation in fate. This doesn't mean passive acceptance of injustice or abandoning your goals. It means pursuing your values while holding outcomes lightly, knowing that you can only control the quality of your effort, not the variables that determine results. Marcus's approach to difficult people offers particularly relevant wisdom for our polarized times. He recognized that others' behavior reflects their own understanding and circumstances, not necessarily their essential nature or their feelings about you. When someone treats you poorly, Marcus would suggest, they're acting according to their current level of wisdom and their perception of the situation. This recognition doesn't excuse harmful behavior or eliminate the need for boundaries, but it can free you from taking others' actions as personal affronts or as reasons to abandon your own principles. The Emperor's meditations also reveal a sophisticated understanding of how thoughts create emotional states. Rather than being at the mercy of whatever arises in consciousness, you can observe your thoughts as temporary visitors in the space of awareness. Marcus practiced seeing thoughts as neither true nor false, but as mental events to be examined before deciding how to respond. This creates what contemporary psychology recognizes as cognitive flexibility, the ability to step back from automatic reactions and choose more skillful responses. Two key insights emerge from exploring Marcus's approach to life's challenges. First, the recognition that your inner experience depends far more on your interpretation of events than on the events themselves gives you tremendous power to influence your own well-being. Second, developing virtue, your capacity for wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, provides a stable foundation for happiness that doesn't depend on external circumstances aligning with your preferences. As you consider these insights, a question naturally arises. In a world that constantly tells you to optimize, achieve, and control outcomes, what would it feel like to find deep satisfaction in the quality of your attention, the integrity of your choices, and the compassion you bring to each interaction, regardless of the results these efforts produce? Rest now in the quiet satisfaction that comes from recognizing you already possess everything necessary to live well. The challenges awaiting you tomorrow remain unchanged, but your relationship to them has shifted in ways both subtle and profound. Like Marcus writing by lamplight in his distant tent, you've touched something timeless and unshakable. The understanding that peace comes not from controlling the world around you, but from cultivating wisdom within the space you truly govern, the sanctuary of your own choices and responses.